Welcome to episode 19 of Take the Trip with Us, where you hear from travel professionals who've experienced destinations firsthand. Listen to their stories and experiences, along with recommendations for your own vacation. And today I have Crystal Boston and Sara Turner with me, and we are going to hear about their recent trip to the Carnival Mardi Gras. Well, actually, their recent sailing, because now this is a brand new ship. Sailing is back and it's very exciting. And you two were really some of the first people to be able to be back on a cruise ship. And I want to say, how did it feel? But I think I'm going to hear lots of cheers and
Yes, it was amazing.
It felt incredible. I would say maybe more incredible than prior cruises, just knowing that we'd been, kind of closed off for so long, and to come back, it was like watching your favorite movie again for the very first time. It was cool.
yes. And I loved your pictures of just seeing the water out there, off the veranda. That was wow. Well, I'm going to be doing that this weekend because I'm getting on a cruise ship too. So I'm super excited about that. I think the question though, that most people just want to know about, and what I'm probably most concerned about myself or really on my mind, is all of the pre-sailing procedures and what really needs to happen before you get on the ship. And I know there's like online stuff to do. Tell me a little bit about that. Crystal, do you want to start and say what happened, on your end when you got started with that?
Yes. The online check-in process was very easy. I didn't feel like I had to do anything different or above and beyond. They didn't ask to upload the vaccination cards. They didn't ask, to show proof. They didn't ask you to do the photo. All of that was done at the port. So I felt it was very simple. The main thing that was different is they did ask, I guess you would call it maybe a COVID or health checklist or questionnaire that everyone had to confirm they were free of any fever, cough and all that. So
Same thing for you, Sara? Is that?
Yeah, Crystal actually was my partner in my cabin. And so Crystal took care of a little bit of the dirty work for me while I was kind of right there with her. And so we worked in partnership, and it was very quick. It was very simple. And really, I think that was the general tone of a lot of this throughout the cruise, beginning, middle, and end, was things being very streamlined. And I think that could be a product of them being things being on pause for a while with COVID. They've made their processes more efficient.
Right. That's awesome. So then when you got there and that actual check-in process, is that when you had to show things, your passport or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So when we got to the cruise terminal, then we went through the typical procedures which we expected, which was the porter taking our luggage, and then going into the terminal and standing in line for our turn at one of the kiosks. And then once it was our turn, then one of the crew members checked our vaccine cards, they checked our passports, and then we proceeded through to have our luggage checked through security. And then from that point on, Crystal, correct me if I'm wrong, but we walked onto the ship. It was so simple.
Yes, we just walk right up.
So wait though. Okay. So on this ship, everyone did not have to be vaccinated.
Correct.
Okay.
Everyone did not. However, we saw in several instances where if you were not vaccinated, you had to go through a few extra steps.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know.
Yes.
They also had those people going through a separate line.
They did.
Okay. So if you were, I guess now unvaccinated, you go through a separate line. Do you know if they require any kind of testing? You all did not have to test before you got on, right?
We did not, although we didn't necessarily listen into what the non-vax people were having to go through, because they were in a separate line and separate from us. But when we were aboard and when we were getting close to returning back to port at the end of our sailing, we did observe that there was a separate room set up where, it was full hospital gear, testing passengers before they got back into the port, and then hosing down that entire room afterwards. They're taking it very seriously for folks that are coming aboard and not vaccinated.
Wow.
And also for those cruising out of Florida, if you're not vaccinated or choose not to show your proof of vaccination, the testing is required ahead of time, but also you have to have the travel insurance.
Okay. So they require the travel insurance also.
Yes.
Okay. So then boarding procedures, okay, you've done your online stuff, you've gotten there, you've checked everything. And then like you said, you pretty much walked on. I mean, do you have stuff in an app? How does that work?
Crystal, do you want to take this or I'll take it?
I can. So
Okay.
one of the things either we missed it or they didn't say it. First, you need to go find your muster station. And that is that information is on your boarding pass that you keep with you when you board. And so they want you to do that first, because they won't leave port until everyone's done their muster drill. So that's the first thing you do. You just go straight there, and then you go straight to your stateroom, or if you want to, but we did because we had things to put away. Your staterooms were ready as soon as we boarded.
Okay, so
They
wait a
were.
minute. So you're not doing a muster station drill with everybody together then. So you're showing
Correct.
up, are they like marking you off that you got there?
They scan your boarding pass, because
Okay.
you don't have your stateroom key yet.
Yes.
So they scan your boarding pass, and then that is what's checking you in, just like any other muster drill where they've got the tablet, they're scanning you,
Okay.
but they scan every single person now, not
Mhm.
the one person in the
Okay.
stateroom.
That's good. Well, hey, that alleviates having to go and stand for 20 minutes,
Yes.
sardine with a bunch of people at a
Yes.
muster drill.
That's a positive result of all
So
of
positive.
it.
And of course, in your stateroom on the TV, there is just a variety of all sorts of information about muster drills and where to find guest service and how they're implementing their safety protocols and procedures. I mean, so much information on your in-room television. But you had asked about the app, Debbie, and yes, there is a Carnival Hub app, which we downloaded before we got to the port. And we found that once we were on board, because they weren't printing out on a daily basis those activity guides, you had access to them if you wanted one, but they're not leaving you in your stateroom every day as they were before. The hub really was your point go-to for all things having to do with the cruise, from dining to activities to spa reservations to even shore excursions, and then even general information about being on the ship too.
And virtual queues for guest services.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was great.
Yeah.
Oh,
So there's
was
no
awesome.
lines in those areas.
Yeah.
wow. Okay,
So no more
awesome.
standing in line at guest services. You would just sign into a virtual queue for that. But Crystal, tell me if you felt the same. I never saw a long line at guest service. Did
No.
you?
No,
Never.
but I'm gonna say it's because of the virtual queue process.
It was great.
Yeah, yeah.
Super, super. Oh, that's awesome. So I guess the big question is, how did you feel? I mean, as far as all those safety protocols that were put into place, I'm assuming, I know you're going to probably talk about masks. How did all that feel to you? And did you, was it a feeling of being comfortable on board? Crystal,
Crystal,
do you want to start?
I was very comfortable. They had the signing up that, if you were in indoor spaces on elevators, things like that, you were supposed to wear your mask. My take on it is they didn't enforce that 100%, but I kind of went by the guide of the people I was in the elevator with or around or whatever. If they had theirs on or put theirs on, then I put mine on, type thing. There were a few times where they did enforce that, like if you went into a store or something, they wanted to make sure you had your mask on, but I never felt uncomfortable at all the whole time.
Yeah, I would say the same. And Crystal brought up a good point that when we agreed to do this cruise, the policy in place was that no one was to have to wear a mask. And so everyone that we were sailing with got on this ship with the original impression that they wouldn't be wearing a mask. And so for that reason, I felt that's why some folks weren't taking it as seriously. But in Carnival's defense, I think they did everything in their power to remind folks to wear your masks.
Yes.
And you really couldn't look 5 feet without seeing some sort of sign, a reminder, not saying wear your mask now, but saying, hey, we're having fun, mask up, that type of stuff. They really did everything that they could. There were sanitizing stations everywhere, just everywhere. So there is a human responsibility to take that seriously or not. And I found that with myself and with Crystal that we did see a lot of folks that were wearing masks. We also saw folks that were being a little lax about it because they signed on with the intent to not wear a mask.
Yeah, that's a really Good point. And I know a lot of
Mhm.
that stuff has been changing recently, inside,
Mhm.
outside, where, where that needs to be done. And I agree with you, it's that responsibility and making sure that, you're trying to do the right thing. But let's talk about now the fun stuff about restaurants and eating, because oh my gosh, when I go on the cruise and trying all the new food and everything, I mean, this is a brand new ship. Let's see, was this it had only had it sailed a couple times
This
before
was
you
the
were on?
second sailing.
One time before.
Okay.
Can I tell you that I rehearsed this in the mirror earlier? Goodness. I rehearsed this in the mirror earlier. You
Okay.
ready for this? This is my description of the Carnival Mardi Gras.
I am ready.
Okay, she's big. She's beautiful. She's modern. She is tech savvy and she is ready to cruise. She is packed full of so much fun. And if you think about it, she was birthed out of a pandemic. So for that reason, the Carnival Mardi Gras really was tweaked and polished to accommodate passengers on board who were coming out of a pandemic. And so for that reason, I can't think of a better ship I'd rather be on at sea than a brand spanking new ship that was built for the pandemic. There you go, boom.
Yay. Sarah, I love it. I love it. That was great. You did awesome. Super commercial. And I'm going to turn it into Carnival and see if they pick you up on that.
That's so funny. So you want to hear about some fun though, right?
Yes, I do want to hear about fun because
Fun.
Carnival is
Oh,
all about fun.
it is.
It
And they are
is.
not
And I
shy
know they've
about
got
it.
some really great deals that I saw come down recently for people to sail even into like 2023, 2024, pushing out there. And that ship looks like a lot of fun. So tell me about the fun.
Crystal, you want to go first?
Well, I guess to go back to dining, Debbie was wanting to know about dining initially, and the dining was very fun. I guess I look at it as yes, everything was very fun that we participated in. But our dinner service team was a lot of fun, and it was just it was a good experience. But also the quick service meals, I felt everything was good in that
Have
respect.
a lot of choices. Did you
Yes.
feel as far as like during the day, the quick service type stuff that you were going to walk up and get? And I'm assuming, well, I saw pictures that there were buffets, but they weren't self-service. So you were served as you went through. Is that correct?
No, there were areas of it that you were served, but the main buffet area you serve yourself.
Oh, okay.
Serve yourself at the drink station. Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt more normal in that aspect because, yes, we're thinking we're going to get on and we can't serve anything to ourselves. And, condiment stations were self-serve.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So my first experience getting on the ship, of course, you're hungry. And so you go right to where the food is after your muster drill, of course, because that was, quick but important and done in a flash. So we went to get something to eat. And so I went up to Blue Iguana Cantina, which is one of my favorite spaces on Carnival ship. It's the Mexican themed one. And so instead of having all of the beans and rice and pico de gallo and all that stuff laid out for you to serve yourself, they were making your tacos and burritos for you. But then you turned around and then you had your condiments that you could kind of doll it up with as you wish. So I was surprised about that. I was expecting for everything to be served to me the entire time. But in fact, that wasn't the case, as Crystal said. Now, of course, there were sanitizing and hand washing stations all around for you to utilize. But I was a bit surprised about that. So when it came to the table service dining, our evening, we were assigned a table. And so there's main seating, late seating, and there's like a my time concept where you come as you wish. So we had the same service every night. And as Crystal was saying, this really was a special part of our entire experience. Crystal, she shared some things with me, which was her loyalty to her dining team. And so we ate in the same restaurant every night. And I will tell you, by the end of the cruise, they knew Crystal wants her cheese plate before she eats. Sarah wants salmon and probably the Indian dish. And they're both going to probably drink a lot of wine. So they knew us very well. And I will tell you that night, maybe 5 or 6 of the cruise, I didn't even order the salmon. Crystal didn't even order the cheese plate. They knew we wanted it and it was right there. So incredible. So there were other sit down table service dining options. So for example, there was an Italian concept. There was an interesting Mexican and Asian fusion concept. There was sushi, a charming sushi bar. Help me out, Crystal. There was a seafood focused signature restaurant. So of course, some of those restaurants you pay a little extra for, and then some of them are included in your cruise fare.
Right.
Lots of options all the time.
Yeah, I think that was it for the sit down type dining. And then there were a lot of other quick service options.
Yes, there were quick service most all day long. I found in my experience compared to other sailings on similar ships that there weren't as many options during the day. And to me, I kind of thought that perhaps that was just a COVID thing, not having food all over the place all the time, but instead focusing on the quality of the food instead of there being your midnight buffets of the past where there's just more food you've ever seen in your life. Instead, good food, normal quantities, and a few select places.
And 24/7 pizza.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Well, and I agree with you, Crystal. I love the concept of that dining team. So it's really good to hear that you could do that there on the Carnival ship and have that continuity. And I have to know, at one time or one night or all nights, did they dance on the tables or the little things? Because I know for my Carnival cruise, they did that. And
we didn't see them dance on the tables, but they did dance for us.
Okay.
And I have to say, something I think that was unique for this particular sailing and coming back cruising after the pandemic is that the teams there, whether it's dining, stateroom, bar, whatever, they are so genuinely appreciative of you being there and they make it very well known. So there were a couple of songs that they sang, which I think are part of their normal rotation during dinner, but it was so genuinely heartfelt when they were singing "We Are Carnival" and we are so glad that you're here. I've never felt such genuinity in a crew member in the past, and it almost Crystal was crying, and I'm just gonna say I think I teared up too. These people really appreciate you for being
The
here.
entire crew definitely was very happy to be back, working on board a ship and having guests. They were. Yes.
It's
Well, yeah.
special. It
You
really
think
is.
You think about how long they were just doing all these practice cruises and no real guests, and now they're getting to see these smiling faces again, and that's just awesome.
Yeah.
So moving on in the food venue, but going towards the drinks and the bars. Tell me a little bit about the ordering at the bars, and I think you mentioned that there's no menus anymore, and how?
No, everything's a QR code, and that was even at dinner too.
Oh,
yes, you can ask for a printed menu, Crystal. I do believe I saw some folks asking for a printed menu, and they could get that if they needed it.
But it wasn't just there. You would have to request it. But they encouraged all QR code, using your app. And that works for us. But
yeah. But so I didn't see social distancing enforced in the lounges or in the bars. Crystal, did you? Maybe on some of the larger venues, yes, but not at your walk-up bars.
Right. No.
And aside from the QR codes, I can't think of how it really was different from beforehand.
I don't think it was. I mean, everybody was having fun. The bartenders were having fun. Of course, they had at the indoor bars, they had their face coverings on, but they would maybe pull them down to say something to us because it is hard to have that communication. But I would say the fortune teller bar was the most entertaining, but the alchemy bar was entertaining as well. I think the drinks were just a little more entertaining.
Yeah,
fortune teller.
Yeah, I have to give props to the Carnival Mardi Gras and their selection of drinks, because you can get your drinks, of course, in the dining room with your dinner, but there are also, 6 or 8 other lounge type places throughout the ship, especially in the evening, not so much in the daytime. But I noticed that, just like I was saying with the food and how they've really improved their variety and their flavors specifically, same was to be said for the drinks at the bars. Most bars had, I love Bloody Marys, and all of them had a Bloody Mary concept. Some were massive, like check this out. I had a Bloody Mary served in this. It's probably a half gallon.
Oh my goodness.
But there were, this is 2021, people want interesting bars. They had drinks that had smoke coming out of them. They had drinks that changed colors. They had drinks that were a margarita, but were stone cold black with charcoal in them. Just weird, super cool stuff. So
Wow.
that really was a level of entertainment too in the lounges
And I
and the
think
bars.
what I liked too is all of those venues, the bar areas were all very different and themed. They were all themed, just they had their own personality, each of them.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
the bartenders took that on as well.
Yes, gone are the days of walking up and ordering your favorite cocktail and the bar looks the same as the one that you just passed. It's
Yeah.
not like that anymore. They're
Right.
all different and unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool.
Mm.
That's great. So talking about that entertainment, so part of your entertainment was the bar at night, but then I know they had some some shows and things like that. Did you catch any of the shows, any of that like more full production entertainment?
Yes. My favorite was Rock Revolution, and I would have watched it every night if they'd shown it every night, but they only had it the one night. It was awesome.
Mhm.
I mean, the other shows were good, but that one really just spoke to me, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I think I saw tears, Crystal.
yeah, it was a dance production.
Okay.
You know, like well, maybe more like a Broadway musical type thing, Sarah. Would that be?
Yes, and the level of talent was on
Yeah.
par with what you would expect.
Yes.
It was incredible.
It was.
Wow.
I know when I'm seeing a really good show when I get chills.
Yes.
5 or 6 times I got chills.
Yes.
It was that good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, Crystal, would you agree, though, that compared to other sailings that you've been on, regardless of the cruise line, there typically is more mega show options? Whereas on this sailing, we found that there really were only maybe 2 of the big show productions in the theater. And let me just mention that in the theater, people really were trying to distance. They really were. And I think because there were just a few of those large theater options throughout the cruise, that people were there was more space in the theater than there normally would have been.
Yeah.
But I think a product maybe of the pandemic has been that their large theater shows are fewer than before. And my hope is that maybe it's just temporary, but yeah, they were spectacular.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the comedian was good. The piano bar was good. There was a magician one night in the main common area. I thought it was all entertaining.
There was a celebrity aboard, right? I can't think of his name.
Oh.
He was a Broadway, a really well-known Broadway talent. And what caught our attention is I was sitting in the atrium one evening and he was practicing and he starts singing. He says, "This next number, I caught from Tomorrowland and the Carousel of Progress." And he starts singing, "It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow," like in his beautiful Broadway voice. So they have talent from all over the world, and from their comedians to their stage shows to their variety acts.
Awesome.
And it shows.
Awesome. Very, very cool. Now, speak to me about the other entertainment stuff like the pools and I've got to hear about the coaster but I don't know if either one of you are brave enough to go on it.
Well, Crystal took that one for the team.
Oh, okay. Did you do it?
So, Crystal, do you want to speak or do you want me to speak?
You can.
Okay, Crystal reports that it is a coaster car situation where there was 1 or 2 people in front and 1 or 2 people in the back. I didn't get that close. And it's a legit roller coaster. It's like a steel roller coaster that wraps all the way around the top of the one section of the ship, the top of the ship. It's fast. It is a fee. I think it was like $15, and it only goes one time though. So it's great for folks who just feel like they need to get that roller coaster at sea experience, because that's innovative. That is not on any other ship out there. But it is just one time around and it's $15. So it's an experience.
If you want to ride it, make sure you bring closed-toe shoes.
Closed-toe shoes.
Yes.
Yes.
Can't wear my flip-flops.
No.
Okay. Wow. I don't know if I'd be brave enough to ride it, but yeah.
No,
and what about, so like pools? I mean, are there adult pools only? Are there ones that more families go to? How does that work?
There were a lot I think there were a lot more areas for families with the pools in mind. And there were several, and none of them were very big, I thought. And then there was an adult pool area only one area, small pool. And the people, I talked to other cruisers on board and everyone agreed. And we said, well, maybe we need to all put that in our comments or feedback that they had a pit seating area. And everybody said, well, that could be another pool, even it was just like the shallow where you sit in some water, like a little beach type area. Because everyone felt the pool area for the adults only was too small.
Okay.
But there was only one, whereas for the families, there were several.
Yeah.
But it was very nice. I enjoyed the pool area.
This is another area where my expectations were exceeded because I found that I've cruised on other Carnival ships before. I found that the pool areas on the Mardi Gras were not crowded the way I remember. I remember Carnival ships where there are people on top of people. There is lots and lots of loud craziness going on, like bachelorette party style. This was not that way. People were, for the most part, enjoying themselves, loving the sun and the water. They weren't on top of each other. So I was relieved to see that. I also was impressed with the variety of pool styles. So Crystal and I spent a lot of time at the adult section, Crystal specifically. They had a great salad bar up there and everything. They had infinity pools, at least two, which I've not seen on Carnival ships before. You really sit in them and you feel as though you're sitting in the ocean and you're looking out into just clear glass in the ocean on the other side. Very impressive. I thought that the pools were top notch. Yes, of course they could be bigger. I also thought that the slides, there were like 4 different water slides. And I have clients who want water slides when they take their kids on vacations. They had the kind of slide where you stand on, you're kind of in this clear tube all around you and you stand on the floor and the floor drops and then you drop with it down the slide. They had one of those things. So yeah, pools in my opinion, top notch.
Did you all do those too?
Heck no.
Oh,
She is correct. I spent most of my pool time at the adult pool.
okay.
She was
Okay.
happy.
Okay, got it. Oh, and I know they've got the spa, the fitness club there. I mean, so much. It sounds to me, the Carnival Mardi Gras ship is one that, being on it for a week, there's so much to do. Great for families. I mean, that's what it sounds like. You're making me want to go.
It's true. It is.
I think the only thing we didn't do was the casino.
But we walked through.
Yes.
On day one, they were giving complimentary champagne,
Yes.
so we had to stop by and say hello.
Well, that's also where our muster station was when we got on board.
The casino was huge.
Station. Yeah. But
There was, did you notice, Crystal, there was a non-smoking side of it?
Well, and that's fine, but I could smell smoke as soon as not when we first got on board, but as the cruise progressed, I could smell more smoke in there. And that is something that I don't enjoy. So I did find ways to get around the ship without having to go through there.
Yes. So I've been on a lot of ships where the smoke protrudes even into the atrium. That was not the case here.
No.
Yes, you could smell smoke outside of the casino, but it was a fully enclosed casino. And then there was a separate section that was not smoking for casinos. I have a lot of clients who they want casinos when they cruise. And that's not something I see all the time where they have a separate non-smoking section of the casino.
Okay, but yeah, very interesting because I'm like you, Crystal. I'm really sensitive to that smell.
Yes.
So knowing that there would be an area, especially for like my husband, who I know would want to go gamble, and then he wouldn't come back smelling, terribly like smoke. So very interesting. That's cool. Very cool. Okay, so now that you've taken us through this whole experience, what about the sad part of getting off the ship? So that debarkation, how did that go? I know you had told me there were a couple different ways that you could choose to do it. Tell me about those and what did you all do?
Well, they made a very big point of, even if you've done this before, it's different. With us, with a different cruise line, whatever, it's different. And it was different. The option of express, where you take your own luggage with you, that you couldn't just go. They called you by muster station. So you would check your room key just to make sure you remember what that was. And when they called your muster station, then you were able to go off with your luggage and just leave. Then what they did was we had to go get tags, luggage tags with numbers, and you choose your number. based on the time you would like to get off the ship. Well, we're thinking 10 a.m. around there somewhere, because that's when our ride was going to be there. And we were actually off by 9 and done with everything by 9:30. Had our luggage, been through, through our security check, everything. They used facial recognition in the port. You don't take your passport out again, nothing. It was so quick, so easy, so efficient. I was super impressed.
And just as you were saying, the part where you have to get off the ship, it's always a bummer, kind of end your vacation. Just like usually in the beginning of your vacation, getting on the ship, it tends to be a long process of sitting and waiting for a long time. And that wasn't the case with this. We were quickly on. And then when it was time for us to go, we were quickly off. I mean, just knowing that we were able to really complete that debarkation process in 20 minutes to a half an hour kind of blows my mind. We were left there thinking, what have we forgotten to do? But we didn't.
Right.
We did what we were supposed to, and it just was fast.
So getting on to, I'm assuming, I forgot to ask, they gave you maybe a time to arrive to get on, like that port arrival time. And I guess that's the similar thing getting off, then you had a time to get off so that it spread people out.
Yes.
Correct.
Because they don't want people gathering. So yes, and to go back to the port arrival, we did select our port arrival time when we did our online check-in, and they will not let you in the terminal if you arrive before. So you arrive within that half hour and then you're in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you can arrive after, but you just can't arrive before.
Got it. Yeah. And I'm sure that makes
there was sorry,
What's
I was
that,
going to say there's debarkation information. There are, just as with other ships, there is the day before your debarkation, there's the seminar that you can attend. And then there also is information on your in-room TV, but they use a similar process to other large cruise lines where you grab a tag, and that tag designates what time you need to come down to get off of the ship, or you have the option to do the express walk off.
Okay, got it.
Two choices.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it was 7 days of just awesome ocean bliss, and I loved following along and seeing the pictures too. That was great. But last thing I want to know, Crystal, what was your favorite memory? Do you have something that stands out to you?
I'm gonna say mine. Well, it was all amazing, and we had many great experiences and memories. Our dinner service team, and they're just how they entertained us, how they served us, all of that was just because we got to connect with them more because we were with them every night. So I mean, they were just so happy to have us there and made sure that everything was just perfect for us. So that would be my favorite part.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Sarah, what about you? What's your favorite memory?
So Crystal said part of what mine was. Like I said before, I'm not one who typically goes to the same dining room every night, but I do appreciate that experience now that she's opened my eyes to it. I just in general, my expectations were by far exceeded. Having sailed on Carnival ships before, this is not the same Carnival ship that we all have seen in the past. This is very much similar to other brands and their new modern mega ships. So for me, that experience and being able to be on a ship for the first time after the pandemic is just really something that I'll be talking about for a while. I wanted to mention that they do have shore excursions, and I've had some questions about that from clients in the past. How are they going to handle shore excursions? And it's going to vary by cruise line and by sailing, of course. But in our experience with this ship, we were able to purchase shore excursions in advance of sailing. And then also once we stepped on board too, and we did have the option of either the cruise line sponsored excursions or our own. One that I did was a Mayan ritual in Costa Maya. It was spectacular, spa wise. The other I did was a turtle rescue type thing, helping with the turtles that normally wouldn't have made it out of their nests before they passed. So that was really a life-changing type experience. And those are the kind of things that people, I think, look for on a cruise, are those experiences that you can't get elsewhere. So it really was a fantastic time.
That's awesome. It's good to hear that you could do those shore excursions. And I know right now it depends on what island you go to and that you hit on, and that will be ever changing and stuff, but it's great to hear that you were able to do it. I just have to know though, a turtle didn't come home in your suitcase, right?
Oh,
Oh, if I had it sitting next to me, a turtle did come home in my suitcase.
yes.
Oh,
Cute
It was
turtle.
a nice little giveaway after the
okay.
excursion. They gave us a turtle that they had molded out of trash from the ocean, just reminding folks to be cautious of the amount of plastic you use. Adorable. A tiny
Wow.
little turtle molded out of recycled ocean plastic. I brought a
Oh,
turtle home.
that's great. That's great. Love it. Well, thank you both so much, Sarah and Crystal. I really appreciate it. And to all our listeners today, please tune back in with us. We'll continue to bring you information about destinations and cruising that you and your family may want to visit. So take that trip with us. Hear our stories about these destinations that we're exploring, learn our tips and tricks that we have found useful, and keep dreaming with us about that next destination. Until next time, keep dreaming. Bye.
Bye.